Hello everyone, welcome to Open Studio. I'm your host, Segaecho. Thank you that you could join us today. You're tuned into Cape Town TV, channel 263. Today we've got such an exciting guest on the show, Mrs. Yvonne Mathieson, and she's from the Durbanville Children's Home. An exciting organization you have, hey, and a home are doing amazing things. Would you just tell our viewers a little bit about who you are, Yvonne, and how did you get involved with the organization?
Sure. First of all, thank you very much for having me here today and my colleague Chrizelle. We really appreciate it. I've been at the Children's Home for about 14 years, so quite a long time, and I started managing the volunteer department. I'm very passionate about working with groups of people and seeing how we can empower them to make a big difference in children's lives. And more recently, I've moved into being the manager of support services, which encompasses programs for the children, making sure that we've got various programs that they take part in during the day, over weekends and holidays. And I oversee still the volunteer department, international relations, and various other things on the ground. So I'm part of a very dynamic management team. And very proud to be part of a children's home that has been around in the community of Cape Town for many, many years, since 1883 in fact.
Over 137 odd years, right?
Yes,
Yeah, that
so
is a long time.
We're very proud of the legacy and the history of the Children's Home, and I think it's definitely impacted and changed the lives of many children over the years. So yeah, great organisation to be part of.
Absolutely, a very powerful one indeed that's been around for a long time doing amazing stuff. So when did your passion begin? How did you start having the love for children?
I think growing up, thanks to my wonderful parents and family, being part of volunteering was part of our life, and always giving back and always trying to see how we could help in communities. And I started off in the corporate world, and later on I went to Swaziland as a volunteer, part of a church outreach organisation. I spent a number of months there.
Oh, wow.
I've spent time in Zambia, Mozambique, Ghana, Nigeria, and really seeing the need within Africa for volunteering and for helping, and very specifically working with children. But I always knew that I wanted to bring back those skills and those lessons that I've learned and make a difference in my own country. So then 14 years ago, I came back to South Africa and applied for the job at the Children's Home.
And
so
you've never looked back.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. I'm so glad we could have you on the show today, because now we can learn a little bit more about what the home actually does. So won't you just take us through that?
So primarily, Durbanville Children's Home, we have 144 children, and if a child is at our home, they've been placed there by the courts.
Okay.
So we all are aware, unfortunately, in society, not just in South Africa, but around the world, the need to protect children. Your viewers will be aware of, unfortunately, the trauma and abuse that children are subjected to. So if a child is placed at our home, they have sadly been subjected to either extreme trauma, abuse in their young lives. It could be an effect of extreme poverty or illness, but most of the time it is very traumatic situations that they have been exposed to.
Right.
So if they come to our home, they've been placed there by the courts, and sadly it does mean that there isn't anyone in their lives that can take care of them in the correct way in accordance to the Child Care Act.
Yeah, in a holistic manner, because I'm sure it's quite a complex scene, I can imagine. And how has the organization found out, given the consideration that we are now, faced with this pandemic called COVID-19, how have you maintained, or sustained the services that you currently offer?
Yes, I think I know Chrizelle will chat a little bit later in terms of the education of our children, because that, with everyone, with all your viewers as well, has been one of the biggest concerns and priorities during the time.
Yes.
And it's been an exhausting year, but I think that we've proven that we can be resilient as an organisation. We need to think on our feet. We need to be adaptable and to change. I think the same lessons as everyone's had to learn in the past year. But I think there's also, while it's been a difficult year, a critical year for our children and for care of our children, but it's also been a good year and good lessons that we've learned. And I think we're also proud of our children and how resilient they were able to be, and how they were able to adapt and change. In terms of COVID, in terms of the pandemic, we were incredibly strict, obviously, as soon as lockdown started, to ensure that all processes were followed.
That's right.
To ensure that the health and safety of our children were paramount at all times. And I think I'm proud that everyone took hands, and the community and partner organisations, to ensure that our children remained healthy. And I've seen it through the pandemic so far. So I think we're proud of that.
That's beautiful. Having the support of the community is everything.
Definitely.
And what would you say is the most challenging part of your job?
I think there's challenges that come up every day. And I think obviously it's very important to always be able to think on one's feet and to be positive and to be solution driven.
That's right.
And I think that often I can find that easy to do, but I think after this year, sometimes that has been a challenge.
Oh yeah, I can
having
relate.
to remind ourselves that we have to keep on keeping on, and
beautiful.
to remind ourselves at the end of the day, we're doing everything for the children. And no matter how exhausting it could be or how big the challenges might be, that we have to just keep on keeping on. And there's a wonderful phrase that a previous colleague always used, and he said that every single child deserves one person that is absolutely crazy about them.
Oh, wow.
And I think that's something that motivates me on a daily basis. No matter what the challenges are, what we face, we've got to make sure that we are that one person for that one child that is absolutely crazy about them, that believes in them, and will keep on giving our best.
That is so powerful. Yeah, that is really powerful. Yeah. And then what would you say then would be the most rewarding part of your job?
I think also on a daily basis, just hearing children laugh outside. And I often sit in my office and I think just hearing the children's laughter, and when you realize where the children have come from, and when you realize the trauma and the abuse that they were subjected to at a young age, and never to minimize that, but then to realize how resilient children can be when they're placed in the correct therapeutic setting, when they've got the love and the care. And then a simple thing like hearing a child laugh, but realizing, wow, that is just such an amazing miracle. And the fact that they can laugh after everything they've been through.
Yes.
So I think that's, and you know, when the children run and hug colleagues and hug you, but I think the children's laughter and being able to see children play and children being children.
And children being children. Something that today's society, there's not really much room, right? I mean, the lifestyle has changed so much over the years.
Yeah, yesterday as I left my office, there was 2 little boys climbing the tree. That was amazing. Looking for some fruit in the tree and giggling, and that's just how little boys should be. So
absolutely, just allowing that environment that is so conducive and a positive, you know, a loving home, like you said, you know, children just look for that, right, at the end of the day. So for somebody out there that you would like to probably say, hey, if you know of anybody, how do they actually get a hold of your organization?
In terms of
now that I know that what you cater for, you know, right? So how does a person get a hold of you? What are your
if
details?
They were concerned about a child?
Yes, correct.
So we work through the Department of Social Development, and we work with external social workers in all communities. We also form part of the Visser organization. So anyone that has any concerns or is worried about any children in society, they can go onto our website, www.durbanvillekinderhuis.org.za, or onto our Visser website, and then they'll see all the different contact numbers, the social workers' numbers, and they can assist them from there.
Wonderful. Well, viewers at home, you've got the contacts. If you are worried or you need to raise some sort of, you know, an alarm and let the organization know that there's a child out there that could be, you know, needing their services, you've gotten the contacts from Mrs. Yvonne. We'll be right back after this. We just need to go to a quick break, and when we come back, we'll interview her colleagues. Stay tuned. Welcome back. This is Open Studio, Cape Town TV, channel 263. I'm your host, Segaecho. If you've just tuned in, I'm with a guest from the Durbanville Children's Home. Earlier on, before we went on the break, your colleague was here, right, Miss Yvonne, and she was just going through, you know, just letting us know about what your organization does and the amazing programs you have, and you've been around for such a long time. First and foremost, let me welcome you to the studio. Welcome.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Wonderful. I'm glad to have you as our guest. So, Chrizelle Visser, who is Chrizelle Visser, and how did you then get involved with the organization?
Yes. Okay. So I studied psychology and then also did my coaching certificate. So I have a big passion for psychology and then also education. So I started as a volunteer at Durbanville Children's Home in the homework program. That was in 2016. And then through that, they offered me the position of educational coordinator. So I started in 2017 at the children's home. And it's such a joy working there and just really doing what is a passion of mine. And yeah, working with children, that is just, I absolutely love working with children.
That's amazing, like being in
Yes.
heaven, right?
Yes,
Every day.
yes.
Fantastic.
Yes.
And what does your role entail, that of an educational coordinator? What is your day like? What do you do?
Yes. Okay, so I have the role of um, looking after the educational needs of 144 children. So I find schools for them, I make sure that they get the support in terms of education, homework, yeah, so just making sure all of those things happen, and then
That's right.
also communication with schools. We have 28 different schools in the northern suburbs area. It's quite a lot of schools, and
Absolutely.
if you think 100,
It is quite a lot.
yes, 144 children, each of them have a teacher, so just keeping that communication effectively with the schools, and yeah, just supporting the schools, supporting the children, and making sure all of those educational needs are met.
100%.
Yes.
Yeah, quite an involved role you play right there, I guess, just bringing all the players, into one central point.
Together,
That's really
yes.
amazing. And for you, what would you say is so important, education, for a child to acquire education? Especially, I checked on your website, the age is between, is it 12 to 18? Or what is the age gap?
We have children from the age of 2 until
2, sorry.
when they leave school. So I guess that can sometimes be up until the age of 21.
Amazing,
But
yeah.
18 more or less.
Yes, 100%. So you've got the foundation phase as well there. Why would you?
Small kids.
Yeah, exactly, and they grow up there, right? And why would you say education is so important for a child?
Sure, it's really important. I think when kids are, or most of our kids, they come from, neglected backgrounds. They're placed with us, and they already have they're already so behind in terms of education. Most of the times, we do find that quite often. They have a big backlog. Some of the kids are sometimes 12 years old, but they are the last grade that they were in was grade 1. So we really try to help them and support them to catch up a little bit, and then also just to make sure that they are placed in the correct type of school as well, because you get your mainstream, your school of skills, and then your special needs schools.
Right.
So we will assess and see what type of school is the best suited for them, and then it's important to help them in terms of education and then building a future for themselves.
Amazing. I love the fact that you've got such programs that are so inclusive and well integrated, quite extensive, if I should put it that way. And what are those programs, if you just take us through the services and programs that the school actually offers?
Yes, I think Durbanville Children's Home really offer quite a lot in terms of programs. We offer services to our children in terms of occupational therapy. We have an occupational therapist on site. And then we also have speech and language therapy students. So it's a student program. We are very privileged to have that. So they support us in terms of speech therapy. We have psychology students helping us in terms of the emotional support.
Which is so critical, especially given the times, right?
Yes.
Oh my gosh,
and then we have an amazing program, or the homework program, where our people from the community can be a volunteer and support our children with their education. That's always been a big need, is just to help our children with their homework, with their orals and projects and all of that. So that's a big program that we are running.
And quite demanding, I guess.
Yes.
So how can then, the community members, like, if me, myself, I want to get involved, how can I actually do that?
We would love anybody who can help us and get involved. You can contact us directly, and we will help you with the process. We have a process that just needs a screening process that needs to be followed, and then once that is done, then people can get involved, help us with education especially.
Absolutely.
But there are so many other programs and areas that volunteers can get involved with at the children's home.
Wonderful. So currently, since COVID came into play, was there a change? Did you have more children coming into the home, or How was that for you?
It was challenging.
Yeah.
Well, when lockdown happened, we couldn't admit any new children. But yeah, I think in terms of education, it was really a challenge because the children couldn't go to school. We all of a sudden had to put measures in place to support our children, 144 children with their
technology,
education.
right?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And making sure that they can do their schoolwork at home and not at school. So it was challenging putting those things in place. We really had to work together as a team to support our children. It was challenging, but we also had the amazing support of volunteers, a small group, because we couldn't allow
as many people, right? Yeah.
But a small group of teachers and people from the public who really assisted us with helping our children with their schooling. It didn't go absolutely perfect.
Because nobody really knew how to handle this COVID thing, right?
And the online teaching, it was a struggle. I think it still is. It remains a struggle, but we are doing the best that we can.
Wonderful. I'm so glad that you're still here. Wonderful stuff. So with that, what is it that you love the most about what you do?
Yes, like Yvonne said, it's the laughter of the children, and the children make it absolutely worthwhile. They are absolutely lovely, and I have a passion for education and development of our children, and just the emotional well-being of them, and to support them to one day go into our communities and make also a big difference and contribute.
100%. That is really powerful. Well, viewers, we'll be right back. We just need to go to a quick break. When we come back, I'll be sitting again with Miss Yvonne. Stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone. This is Segaecho. I'm on Open Studio. This is Cape Town TV, channel 263. The conversation continues with Miss Yvonne. She is from the Durbanville Children's Home, and we spoke, earlier on, and you just taken through the programs, right, of what the organization actually offers. Before I ask on that, I just want to touch a little bit on how do the children actually end up in the home, and what is that process?
Yes. So I think I said before the break that if a child is placed at the children's home, it's done so via the courts. So I think it's important to say that it's done via an external social worker, and it would be if a child was found in need of care in accordance with the Child Care Act. And then they would be placed at the children's home. We do have information on our website and also on the Badisa website, but that is how a child is placed with us. But I also wanted to take the opportunity just to touch on, I think my colleague Chrizelle spoke about our big need for volunteers, and I know we'll talk a bit about that later on. But just to say that also anyone that's involved at our home, we do also have a very strict screening process, and that's because we take the safety of our children very, very strictly, again in the accordance of the Constitution and protection against children. So we've got lots of processes and policies in place, but all to protect our children in the best way possible.
That's very, very important, I guess, of course, because that's a very children are, it's definitely a sensitive part of our society. And with that, what are some of the programs, that you actually do offer? I would like to just, if you can just unpack that a little bit more for us.
Yes, so I think our most critical one at the moment is the education, as Chrizelle has spoken about. And Chrizelle touched on homeschooling 144 children is no easy task.
Oh, wow.
So we are desperately looking for extra volunteers there. But some of our other programs in terms of development programs for the children, and also in terms of your fun, light-hearted, so your sports programs, we do have a few new wonderful volunteers which are able to offer some programs in the afternoons, because we acknowledge the importance, of course, of education, but it's also been a stressful year for our children, and they need to have that area where they can also just relax and have fun, and also be successful in the sport arena.
Absolutely.
Dancing, our children absolutely love dancing. We would love to have a few more of those types of programs. Wrestling, our children are involved in. We've got a wonderful horse riding program which is going to get started next week. And then arts and culture, creativity, and then various awareness programs that we also do around special days such as Human Rights Day, which is coming up soon.
Oh, that's exciting.
So we do have a full program, and then also looking at recreational activities and holidays, weekends, and very excitingly, we've just been blessed with the opportunity to take our children on a camp during the next school holidays.
All 144.
Yes.
That's wonderful. That's beautiful.
And that got cut short last year. So following all the correct protocols and regulations, we're very excited about that.
That's exciting stuff. Yeah, I love that because like you just mentioned something very important, especially now, just an outlet,
Yes.
offering that environment,
Yes.
holistic approach to
Yes.
everything.
Yeah.
What motivation or hope would you give to parents or the youth that's currently watching, just in general, because I know you're very passionate about education and children.
I think the last year, I think it's all taught us how to be resilient and
Yes.
how we can overcome the unexpected. And we see it every day with our children. And Chrizelle and myself were chatting a bit earlier, and the phrase that came to me was, we want to thrive, not just survive. And that's for our children, that's for our colleagues, that's for all of us. But also acknowledging how much we can overcome, and acknowledging if we have the right attitude and if we are positive, we can overcome the biggest obstacles and the biggest boundaries. And we've proven that this year. Our children have proven it. We've proven it as communities and as society.
Absolutely.
And I think if we have that in our hearts and we believe in that, then the sky's the limit. So
Absolutely.
I would just say, I know that last year was exhausting. I know that many
yes.
of us are overwhelmed, but we did it. We need to reflect and be proud of the lessons that we learned, and we need to grow on that and improve and go forward, and just keep giving it our best. And I do believe that we will all have a positive outcome.
I love that. I love the fact that also, like the backdrop behind everything is the support from the community. How important do you think it is for the homes to actually have participation and support coming through from their communities?
Yes, no, absolutely. There's so many children's homes and NGOs in Cape Town, and just to say thank you to each and every person that is helping in some way. And again, I think we saw amazing things during COVID with
Absolutely.
communities mobilizing and helping, and pop-up support and soup kitchens and food kitchens. Yes, our children's home was blessed with fantastic volunteers and support. There's always a bigger need, but I really want to appeal to everyone to get out there and to help in some way. If not at our children's homes, then at other NGOs. We wouldn't be where we are if it wasn't for the amazing support of the communities, and not just financially and not just in terms of goods in kind, but in terms of their well wishes, their support on a spiritual level. We also link to various churches on a deeper level, on an understanding level, on a level of standing by our side, saying we see you, we're here for you, and we're going to get through it together. So on so many different levels, we definitely wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the community's help.
Absolutely, I love that, because at the end of the day, that's us dealing with our social problems together as a collective.
Yes.
Which brings me to the next question. With human rights,
Yes.
around the corner, how are you planning? Are you planning something around that day, and how can we get involved as the community?
My colleague, who will be watching this sitting at work, is busy working on the program. That's Shani Vitboy, who's in charge of all of our programs for our children. Child participation is the most important thing. So it will actually be put to the children to say what is their understanding. We'll do it as an awareness day.
It's also educational. Like
Absolutely.
that. I love
We've
that.
got 12 different houses on the grounds, and for example, each house would come up with a creative idea on how to represent what human rights are, what their understanding is, and then possibly present that to the other children. Also, obviously, a fun element. Like I said, our children love dancing and being creative, but always child participation, not us coming with the idea, putting it to the children, and then also obviously a strong historical and educational side as well.
To know who they are and which
Yes.
country they belong to.
Absolutely.
I love that.
And the
It's
history
quite-
around it, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. And I just want to touch on this really quickly. The government, how has they come into play, in terms of any support of any nature towards the home, or have they been with you on this journey of over 100 years?
Yes, I think the in terms of the Department of Social Development, in terms of government funding, it's quite standard across all children's homes in terms of the funding. But there is a large amount that all children's homes need to fundraise for themselves.
Okay.
I think that the help is possibly never enough. There's always more needed.
Absolutely.
And I think that there's always more input needed into the lives of our children,
Yes.
into educating around the needs of children and into the support, and also educating communities about the trauma that children are facing. So while we're grateful for the help that we do get and that we have had over the many years, I think it's never enough, and I think there's definitely room for more moving forward.
Absolutely. So that's where you and I come in, viewers at home. There's definitely room to do more, and together we can do more, in fact. So won't you get involved and, extend a helping hand to the home, the Durbanville Children's Home. Thank you so much, Yvonne,
Thank
and
you very
again
much.
to Chrizelle as well, Visser, for coming through today. Thank you, everybody at home, for watching. We'll see you again next time, same place, same time. Thank you.